how I got into regressions. That's a story that happened a long time ago. It's been 14 years. I worked at a hedge fund in New York at the time, and I had my very first heartbreak. It was devastating. I did not fall in love for real until I was 30ish. And so all the insecurities came flooding in when for the first time I was so vulnerable with a man and I completely could not control it. So I vacillated between being a biatch and a doormat with him. And it was a nightmare. So finally we broke up. I was left heartbroken. It was such a massive heartbreak that for the first time, I could not handle the pain. And I thought I knew quite a bit about handling the pain. And imagine I would go in the bathroom stall to cry during the day in between my trades or between my meetings. And when I realized that I could not take it anymore and that I've clearly lost it when I was flying from Tbilisi, Georgia, the Republic of Georgia, back to New York. And I was sitting in the very first row on the plane at like 4 a.m. They had this weird time schedule for New York flights. And I was sitting there and crying my eyes out and clenching champagne in my hand. And I was like, and every single passenger who was passing me by and seeing me cry. And I represented a fund that was the largest investor in the country. And so imagine there was like a very high likelihood that somebody that I know, some business partners, would be on this plane as well, but I could not hold it together anymore. And so I was like, okay, I have to do something. And then miraculously, an analyst from my fund gave me this book, Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. And I read this book that he wrote about a client of his where he stumbled upon regression therapy. By accident, he regressed his patient into a past life where she saw herself die from a flood in some village in Africa, I think. Don't hold me accountable for that. that's my memory. And I was like, okay, I have to do this. Drastic. I did not think that I could have a past life memory, but Brian Weiss in his book said that this patient of his had been in therapy for several years without any improvement. And a single regression session that he did for her had a big improvement. So she felt much better. So I was like, okay, I really need to feel much better ASAP. And I had started seeing a therapist, but I didn't really see significant, big enough progress so that, okay, I feel better. So I found a regressionist and it worked. I didn't expect to see anything or, would be regressed at all, but it worked very, very easily, actually. I immediately started seeing things, to my big surprise. And so what I saw that I was a man, first of all, and I saw that it was in some ancient times. Only later did I realize that it was Egypt, or at least I think it was in Egypt. The reason I didn't place it right away is because the man I saw myself as was a blonde man with blue eyes. Not a typical Egyptian in our stereotype. And so this man was a king or a prince of some country in Egypt. It felt like there was kind of like a more supreme king that he was reporting to, but he had a kingdom of his own. And so I saw that this man fell in love with a girl when he was about 5 or 6. And he fell in love with her so much that she was the only woman that he ever laid his eyes on. They grew up together, he worshipped her, and he decided to marry her when he was old enough. And I even saw, check this out, I saw that women in that place had only 2 career options, if you will. They could either become wives and mothers, or get education, or become priestesses. It was one or the other. And I saw that this man that I saw myself as kind of had a feeling that if that girl had to choose, she would have chosen education, became a priestess. So he made an exception for her. I swear I saw all of this in the regression. He made an exception for her, and she could pursue both. So she became a priestess and his wife. Then he went to a war, as I call it, mergers and acquisitions. So he went to acquire another country, and he was absent for 8 years. And then when he came back, he was told by his people that his wife had cheated on him with the high priest. And this man, and I felt his feelings. I felt so devastated by this news that I disowned love. The way I felt was that, well, if I loved somebody this much, then what's the point of loving? Even if this kind of total, complete, unconditional, loyal love cannot be reciprocated, why love at all? And so what I did not even see my beloved. I could not even talk to her. I could have executed her if I wanted to. I did not. But I was just so heartbroken that I pretty much got back on the horse at the first twilight and left the country for good. I never even saw her, and I died in that faraway country, which I conquered. And what happens in the regression is that after you see yourself die as whoever that person that you see yourself as, then you get into space that's called life between the lives. And that's when all the learning happens. The way it works is that the pain stops. And that's how you know that you died. Because all the pain, all the heaviness, all despair just evaporates like that in a second. And when I reached that place, I saw that, my love for this woman was not that unconditional after all, because I expected this woman to reciprocate, and not just reciprocate, but also be loyal to me. I mean, it's kind of normal, a marriage, typical marriage contract, but that was my love for her, and that was the feeling that I should have taken responsibility for. And if I love, and love is a gift, I just give it freely. So I saw that, wait a second, it's really unrelated with disowning love. If I want to love, I can, just without expecting another person do something in return. And another interesting thing that I saw was that the moment I disowned love, not only did I disown love for this woman, but I disowned love towards myself. I closed my heart to the world, but the worst part was that I closed my heart to myself. So I could not love myself anymore. And that was, I realized, the root cause of the situation that I was in currently in my current life. How could I expect this man reciprocate and love me if I could not love myself? And once I saw all of that, my perspective shifted. And I was able to let go of that man. And most importantly, take responsibility. And with that, my journey to loving myself started. And needless to say, I was hooked, because after one session, I had such a big learning and such a big shift that I regressed myself pretty much every time a new scar or a new traumatic experience surfaced. You see, the thing that you need in order to heal or let go, you need to first of all become aware of having a scar or having a problem. And that awareness grows as we grow and as our consciousness expands. So with every regression I did, my capability to see things about myself and becoming aware of what was holding me back and what was torturing me kept expanding. And so in my regression experience, I was able to identify feelings of loneliness. I felt lonely without being aware of feeling lonely for a long time. So I had a regression on that. I had a regression about betrayal. Betrayal was very big for me. Abandonment, and all kinds of situations. And so I've been basically doing this regression therapy for myself this entire time for 14 years. And it's been such a big support and a tool for me to grow, to get to know myself better, and most importantly, to cultivate that self-love. I end up seeing several really, really tragic, tough situations when I disowned love. And every one of them helped me open my heart to myself and to the world, and integrate that pain, integrate and dissolve the pain. And so that's how I ended up in doing regressions for myself. And then the way I started doing regressions for other people was, it started about 5 years ago when I just started doing regressions for friends, but I still kept it very small. Since I was in the finance industry, I felt that it doesn't really match with my finance background. I felt like I had to be really square and a certain way, very rational to be in finance. No, I don't think that way at all. And it's really only during the pandemic, after I lost my brother, that the overwhelm for me was so big that the only way that I could cope was by helping others. And the best, most profound way that I saw myself helping and supporting other people was doing regressions, simply because it's so much more than a supportive word or telling people something about how they should feel, or everything is going to be okay. Because when you do regression, you really connect with yourself and you get to see and understand what is the best for you. You connect with your inner wisdom that envelopes you and gives you clarity and gives you perspective. And perspective, in my opinion, is everything. Because all of us each and every one of us can be happy right here, right now, in this very moment. And it's absolutely not a function of any external circumstances. The challenge with that is perspective. It's been able to feel grateful, being able to count your blessing instead of focusing on what you lack and what you don't have right now or ever. And being able to get in that space with your entire being so that you don't read about it or hear somebody else talking about it, but you feel it, you are there. So I knew that that's how regressions worked for me. And I felt like I can help people get in that place in these very challenging times. And it worked exactly like that. So I just announced to the world that, hey, this is how I can help. This is how I can serve. And it's absolutely not a matter of your belief system. It doesn't matter whether you believe in regression. It doesn't matter whether you believe that all of your problems are in your childhood. It absolutely doesn't matter if you believe in past lives or not, because like I just said, you can regress in childhood and that's enough. If you are open to a possibility of having had some past lives, then I highly recommend doing a past life regression because it's just so much fun. Well, imagine seeing yourself as an Egyptian prince. And I've seen myself as so many characters. It's insane. One day I will record a story for every past life regression I've seen. And I've seen myself as a slave, as a prostitute, as a courtesan, as a madam, as a queen, as a spinster. I saw myself as a spinster. A whole bunch of regular people. Once I saw myself as a woman who was married to a sadistic man, and she was an English woman, very privileged, very well off, and everything looked like a perfect picture from the outside because she was young, beautiful, wealthy, and she was married to this very handsome man, and everybody thought he was a catch. And then she found out that he was sick and he was a monster. And I saw myself being strangled in bed by this man. Can you imagine? It's insane. But and I can't even remember why I remembered this. What was the regression request, as I call it? What was the reason I went into that lifetime? But just thinking about it is nuts. And what I also found is when I share my regression stories with others, whether it be in the context that helps people resonate with the learnings or just the learnings, just the story itself, sharing your story can help others. And you can help too. You can help others to learn through you, shift their perspective through the lens of your experience. And we achieve that by making an ebook for you after your regression session, which would have the notes and the story of what you saw, and then the learnings. What did you learn about that situation and about your current situation? How you can grow from it, how you can embrace life, how you can free yourself from the scars, from this emotional baggage, and live your life to the fullest, right here, right now. So this is a long answer to how I got into regressions. Let me know if you have questions, and book your regression. It will be fun, I promise.